In the quiet villages of northern Pakistan, the evenings were usually peaceful. People closed their shops, children ran home with dusty feet, and the air smelled of warm bread and wood smoke. But on one strange evening, something heavy moved in the air, something that made the birds stop singing and the wind blow slower, as if the whole world was holding its breath. Far away from the noise of the marketplace lived a young Christian man named Rayan. He was gentle, calm, and always ready to help anyone who needed him. He fixed broken buckets for old women, carried water for tired farmers, and read stories to the neighborhood kids every Sunday afternoon. Everyone said that Rayan's smile carried peace, the kind that made you feel safe even on your hardest day. But not everyone liked him. Some men in the village felt threatened by his kindness. They did not understand why he smiled so easily, why he refused to fight back when insulted, or why he spoke about hope even when things were hard. They believed his courage came from something dangerous, something they feared. And fear can make people cruel. One afternoon, while Rayan was walking home through a quiet path lined with tall trees, he felt a strange stillness in the air. The wind stopped, the leaves froze, even the stray dogs that usually barked at him were silent. Then the fear came. Voices whispered behind the trees. Footsteps moved closer. Before he could turn around, several shadows stepped out, hard faces, angry eyes. The men surrounded him like a circle closing in. Rayan's heart thumped, but he did not run. He stood still, breathing slowly, remembering the words he always kept in his heart, "I am with you. Do not be afraid." Those words had kept him calm many times. Now, he needed them more than ever. One of the men stepped forward. "You speak hope where we want fear," he said. "Today, we will silence you." Rayan did not reply, not because he was weak, but because he knew anger only grows when you feed it. Instead, he whispered a small prayer inside his mind. It was not a prayer to escape. It was a prayer for strength. The men dragged him deeper into the trees. The branches above shook, not from the wind but from the tension rising in the air. They tied Rayan to a strong old tree, the kind that had seen many seasons, many storms, many secrets. Rayan's hands were bound. His feet were tied. He could not move. The shadows of the men stretched long and dark in the fading sunlight. But something strange happened. As soon as they stepped back, preparing for what they had planned, a sudden breeze swirled around Rayan. It was gentle, almost warm, yet powerful enough to raise goosebumps on his arms. He felt it whisper across his ear, soft but clear. "I am here." Rayan closed his eyes. Peace spread inside him, stronger than fear. And the story, the miracle, was just about to begin. The sun had almost disappeared behind the mountains, leaving the sky painted with orange and purple clouds. The forest grew darker, and the shadows around Rayan felt like huge blankets closing in. The men who tied him to the tree stood a few steps away, whispering among themselves. Their voices were low, nervous, and unsure, almost like they were afraid of something they could not explain. Rayan kept his head lifted, even though fear tried to crawl into his heart. His arms hurt from the ropes, and his legs were stiff, but he breathed slowly. He remembered stories he had read in his old little Bible, the one he carried everywhere. Stories where people faced impossible danger, yet something greater stepped in. "Help me stay brave," he whispered inside. The forest was quiet, too quiet. Not even crickets chirped, no leaves rustled. It was as though nature itself was watching, waiting for something to happen. One of the men, a tall one with a scar across his cheek, paced back and forth like he was wrestling with his own thoughts. He suddenly stopped and pointed at Rayan. "We end it tonight," he said firmly. But his voice cracked a little. The others nodded, but they did not move closer. Their feet stayed planted on the ground like something invisible held them back. They looked at each other, confused, as if they were expecting courage to magically appear. Rayan watched them calmly, not because he wasn't scared, he was. But he felt something else too, something gentle but powerful. It wrapped around him like a warm blanket on a cold night. Then the wind returned. It didn't roar. It didn't shake the trees. It came like a soft wave, just enough to touch the leaves, enough to make the men spin around in surprise. The breeze circled Rayan, almost like it was protecting him. A strange glow appeared around the tree, not bright like a flashlight, but soft like moonlight on water. It shimmered for only a second, but it was enough for the men to freeze. What was that? One of them whispered. No one go near him, another muttered, stepping backward. The tall man snarled, trying to hide his fear. It's nothing. Just the wind. But the wind did not feel like just the wind. It carried a warmth that didn't belong to the cold night. It carried a peace that did not match the danger around them. Even the forest seemed to wake up a little. The birds called softly, and the leaves moved in gentle waves. Rayan felt tears in his eyes, not from fear, but from understanding. He was not alone. Suddenly, a loud crack echoed from somewhere deeper in the forest. The men jumped, their eyes wide. Before they could react, another sound came, a distant rumble, like footsteps approaching. Heavy, strong, not human. The men panicked. Let's go, one shouted. Something is coming. They scattered, pushing each other, tripping over roots, running without looking back. Their footsteps crashed through the bushes until they disappeared completely. In less than a minute, the forest was silent again. Rayan was still tied to the tree, but the danger around him had vanished like smoke. The wind returned for a moment, brushing against his cheek as if giving him courage. I am here. Rayan closed his eyes again. A miracle was unfolding. Slowly, gently, but surely. And the night was not over yet. The night grew darker, but something about it felt different now. The air no longer felt heavy or frightening. It carried a quiet strength, like a calm voice saying, "Do not fear." Rayan stood tied to the old tree, his arms still pressed against the rough bark, but his heart felt strangely peaceful. The men who had planned to hurt him were gone, running in fear through the forest. Their footsteps had faded long ago, but Rayan had heard something else. Something big, something steady, something walking toward him. At first, he thought it might be an animal. The forest sometimes had goats or stray dogs wandering at night. But this sound was not like that. It was too slow, too heavy, too careful, almost like the footsteps carried purpose. Rayan swallowed, trying to keep his breaths calm. God, help me be brave, he whispered. The footsteps stopped. Silence. Then, a soft light appeared between the trees. Not bright, not blinding, just gentle, like a lantern floating without anyone holding it. The light moved closer, slow and calm, and Rayan felt the air warm around him. Who's there? He asked, his voice shaking a little. No answer came, but the light grew stronger, glowing like a soft golden cloud. It didn't feel scary. It felt safe, almost familiar. Like someone he had known for a long time had stepped into the forest just for him. The leaves above rustled even though there was no wind. The ropes around his wrists quivered gently, as though touched by invisible fingers. Rayan's heartbeat slowed. He stopped shaking. Something inside him whispered, "You know who this is." Suddenly, a calm voice spoke, not loud, not booming, but powerful in a peaceful way. Rayan. Rayan felt warmth spread through his whole chest. It was like the fear melted away instantly. The light moved closer until it stood right in front of him. It was shaped like a person, but brighter, filled with peace, filled with love, filled with something he had never felt before but recognized completely. He couldn't see a face, only the glow. But he knew. Jesus. Not as a picture from a book. Not as a story someone told. But real, present, right there with him. Rayan's eyes filled with tears again, but this time they were tears of hope. The gentle voice spoke once more. You are not alone. As those words filled the air, the ropes around Rayan's hands loosened. Slowly, softly, like invisible hands were untying each knot. The rope slid off his wrists and fell to the ground without making a sound. Then the rope around his feet released on its own. Rayan was free. He stood there in amazement. His legs were weak from standing so long, but he didn't fall. The light around him made him feel strong, stronger than he had ever felt in his life. Thank you, he whispered, his voice trembling with gratitude. The glowing figure stepped back slightly. It didn't disappear. It didn't fade. It simply remained, peaceful and calm, like it was guarding him. Rayan felt a sudden courage rise in him. Where should I go? He asked quietly. The answer came quickly, yet softly. Walk. I will guide you. And suddenly, a narrow path in the forest lit up, just enough for him to see where to place his feet. Rayan took his first step. Then another. And another. With every step he took, the golden light walked beside him. The miracle was still happening. And the night was about to reveal even more. The forest at night was usually a place of cold winds and strange sounds, but as Rayan walked, the air felt warm and peaceful. The soft golden light beside him moved gently, lighting the path like a tiny sun that only he could see. Even the trees seemed to lean back, giving him space to walk freely. Rayan's steps were slow at first. His legs were tired from being tied for so long, and his body trembled a little. But every time he felt weak, the warm light beside him seemed to whisper strength into his heart. "You are not walking alone," the gentle voice had said earlier. And it was true. The more he walked, the more he felt it. The forest was strangely quiet. No dangerous animals, no angry voices, no footsteps chasing him. The same place that had felt like a trap only minutes earlier now felt like the safest spot on earth. It was as if the darkness itself was respecting the light walking with Rayan. After a while, he reached a narrow part of the forest where the trees formed a tight arch overhead. The branches twisted together like fingers, making the path look like a tunnel. Normally, it would have scared him, but now it felt like walking under a shelter made by God's own hands. As he entered the archway, the light beside him brightened, filling the tunnel with a warm glow. The shadows ran away from the brightness, shrinking into the corners like they were afraid. Rayan breathed deeply. For the first time that night, he felt the courage to speak. "Why did you come for me?" he whispered. There was a pause, not long, just a heartbeat, and then the soft voice replied. "Because you called. Because you trusted. Because you are loved." Rayan blinked hard. Tears gathered in his eyes again, but this time he didn't feel embarrassed. These tears felt like rain after a long dry season. He kept walking. After some time, the trees opened up into a small clearing. The sky above was dark blue, sprinkled with stars that shone brighter than he had ever seen before. It felt like the whole sky had bent down just to watch him. But Rayan froze. Up ahead, a figure stood near the edge of the clearing. Not the glowing figure beside him. Someone else. A man. One of the men from earlier. Rayan recognized him instantly, the tall man with the scar on his cheek. He had been the leader of the group. The one who spoke the loudest. The one who wanted to scare Rayan the most. Now he stood alone, his shoulders shaking, his face pale. He looked nothing like the powerful leader from before. He looked frightened, lost, confused. When he saw Rayan, his eyes widened. "You," he whispered. How did you get free?" He took a step back, almost stumbling. Rayan didn't move. The warm light beside him didn't fade. It stayed steady, calm, strong. The man stared, his voice trembling. "We tied you. I saw it with my own eyes. Nobody could escape that." Still trembling, he pointed with a shaking hand. Who is walking with you?" He had seen the glow. He felt the presence. He knew something extraordinary had happened. Rayan did not speak quickly. He let the peace in his heart settle. Then, in a gentle voice, he said, "I was not alone." The man's knees bent as if he might fall. He covered his face with both hands, shaking all over. "I don't understand," he whispered. "I don't understand what happened tonight." Rayan took a small step forward. Not to threaten, not to frighten, but to show compassion. And the golden light stayed beside him, shining softly, protecting him, guiding him. The miracle was not finished. Something even greater was about to happen. Not just for Rayan, but for the man who had once tried to harm him. The clearing was silent. The stars above sparkled like tiny lamps in the sky, watching the scene unfold. Rayan stood calmly, the warm golden light still beside him, glowing like a shield that nothing in the world could break. Across from him, the tall man with the scar trembled, unable to understand what his eyes were seeing. He wiped his face with shaking hands. This is impossible," he whispered. "No one should have survived. No one should be standing here." Rayan didn't answer right away. He wanted to choose his words carefully, words that carried peace, not anger. The warm light beside him filled his heart with calm courage. "You were scared," Rayan said softly. "I was scared too." The tall man looked up, confused. You're not angry." Rayan shook his head slowly. "No, anger won't make anything better." The man's eyes glistened with something Rayan didn't expect, regret. Deep, painful regret. He lowered his head again. I thought hurting you would give us power, he said quietly. But when the wind changed, when the forest glowed, I felt something I couldn't fight. Something greater than all of us. A tear slipped down his cheek, and he quickly brushed it away, embarrassed. Rayan took another small step forward. The golden light followed him without hesitation. You saw what I saw, Rayan said gently. You felt what I felt. The man nodded slowly, unable to deny it. Someone, saved you. Rayan looked at the glowing presence beside him, still steady and gentle. He didn't need to explain everything. The moment had already spoken louder than any words could. Yes, he whispered. I was saved. The man let out a shaky breath. He sank to his knees, not because he was forced, but because his strength left him. He stared at the ground like a child who didn't know what to do next. I don't know why, he said. After all I did, after all I planned, why would God show me this? Why would he let me see a miracle? Rayan knelt too, slowly, carefully, so he wouldn't frighten the man. The golden light wrapped gently around both of them, like a warm blanket. Maybe, Rayan said softly, because your heart can still change. The man looked up, shocked. Change? You think someone like me can change? Rayan smiled gently. I think anyone can. The man swallowed hard. He placed a hand over his chest, right where his heartbeat raced uncontrollably. I felt something tonight, something I've never felt before. It wasn't fear. It was truth. Like someone wanted me to know I wasn't lost forever. Rayan nodded. You're not lost. The man lowered his head again. I'm sorry, so sorry. Rayan didn't need to hear more. Forgiveness was already in his heart. He reached out slowly and placed a hand on the man's shoulder. At that moment, the golden light brightened, softly at first, then stronger, warm, peaceful, and full of love. The forest glowed as if celebrating what had just happened. A heart had changed. A life had turned around. A miracle had done more than save Rayan, it had saved someone else too. The man looked at the glow around them, tears shining in his eyes. Is he still here? Rayan smiled. Yes, and he always will be. The golden light slowly began to fade, not like it was leaving, but like it was settling into their hearts, staying with them in a way they could carry forever. The night no longer felt dark. The forest no longer felt frightening. Two men, one rescued, one redeemed, walked out of the clearing together. And from that day on, Rayan knew something very important. Miracles don't just save bodies. They save hearts. And sometimes, they change the people we least expect. Summary. Rayan, a kind Christian man in Pakistan, was tied to a tree by a group of men who misunderstood and feared him. While they planned to harm him, a gentle miracle happened. A warm golden light, Jesus' protection, surrounded Rayan, and his ropes loosened on their own. The men ran away in fear, but their leader returned later, shocked and confused. When he saw Rayan free and unharmed, he realized something powerful had taken place. Instead of anger, Rayan showed kindness and peace. The miracle touched the leader's heart, making him regret his actions. With love and forgiveness, Rayan helped him understand that no heart is too lost to change. The miracle didn't just save Rayan, it transformed someone who once wanted to hurt him. Moral lesson. Love is stronger than fear. Forgiveness can change even the hardest hearts. You are never alone. God can protect and guide you in your darkest moments. Kindness has the power to turn enemies into friends. The end.